Coming at you from the OLR podcast studio.
It's really more of a basement.
Coming to you from the OLR basement studio.
But it's still a podcast.
Coming to you from the podcast basement studio.
Yeah, but you still need to say OLR.
Coming to you from the OLR podcast basement studio.
Oh, that's way too many words.
Coming at you.
That's not enough. You still need to say OLR.
Let's just start. It's OLR. Welcome to the One Lane Road podcast with Lucas and DK. I'm Lucas.
I was about to say, man, you sound a little solemn over there. Start with you.
I tried to ramp it up. Is what I did there.
You saved it.
You
saved it.
I
was about to just walk out the basement here.
I like to come in real low and then bring it up as I go, and then I turn into that game show host as it goes.
Oh, show him what we won here.
Show him what he's won. What's behind curtain number 2?
A Rye Davis interview, actually.
Oh, well, I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, so anybody's been following me, I've been bugging the piss out of y'all on social media, just plugging it. But if I don't plug it, who's going to plug it?
I ain't going to.
No, well, that's for sure. Lucas ain't going to plug it. So we got everybody that knows November 2nd, Jackson County Fairgrounds building One Lane Road podcast, Songwriter Series number 3. We've had Andrew Pope. We've had Jason Eady and Courtney Patton. And number 3 here coming up with Rye Davis. He's, as we find out in this interview, big Hank Williams Jr., Waylon Jennings fan. He's a lot of 90s country. Now, we didn't even talk about his new album. I'll do that for him now. It's a story to tell, released in 2018. Blue Jeans, She'd Know, which is his newest video release. And one of my favorites, They All Know My Name. That's 3 of my favorites. So, guys need to, everybody that's buying their tickets, and ticket sales have been, people around this area, if you give them a deadline, on November 2nd, a lot of them ain't going to buy till November 2nd, but we had tickets increase. The crowds have not let me down for the first 2 shows, so I know everybody's excited to see him, and the Fraley family are coming in hot, coming in mass, I think. So, but yeah, I really enjoyed talking to Rye tonight.
Yeah, it was really good. If you ever wondered what a combination of Dustin and Lucas would turn into, it's kind of Rye Davis. We've got to grow like 4 inches and learn to play a guitar and write a song.
Is Rye Davis our love child? Maybe.
I mean,
farming from
he's a
Lucas' side,
cattle farmer, a poultry farmer, a Hank Williams Jr. advocate, Waylon Jennings advocate.
No, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed this interview.
It was good.
So
real good. Easy to listen.
That's what we're going to do. We're going to give you guys 2 podcasts this week. This one will be Rye Davis in its entirety. It's about an hour and 10-minute interview. So buckle up and get you a long car ride ready, or maybe work out. Get off your butt, hit a workout in, or
just get up and do it.
Just hit play and enjoy the next hour and 10 minutes.
All right, here's Rye.
So joining us tonight here is Rye Davis, Rye from Kentucky, and he'll be joining us down here in Jackson County at the Fairgrounds building at November 2nd for our One Lane Road podcast Songwriter Series we've been having since January of this year. So, Rye, how are you tonight, man?
I'm doing good, man. Looking forward to the show, and nice to meet you, fellas. Hope everything's doing good.
Yeah, I've been trying to, I've talked to your wife a lot in this process, and I told her I was trying to get out to a couple of your shows here recently, just try to introduce myself to you guys beforehand, and living out here where we do, it's kind of an hour and a half from anywhere of anything, so. Yeah,
I completely understand that, man. I live in Pig, Kentucky, which is an hour from everywhere. It's a geographical odyssey, so I tell everybody. So I understand, man, and we're looking forward to meeting you and to the show. And you don't have to come to all my shows. I play the same songs most of the time, so you'll get to hear them when we come down there.
That's all right. I was really looking at the 2 that I told her I was looking at was the one at Martin's Barbecue, and that looked like a fun time. And cause we're about an hour and a half from Nashville, so. But I just tell you, man, I ain't as young as I used to. Was, and at 8 o'clock or whatever it was on a Thursday night, it makes for an early morning on Friday, making it into Cookville to work.
Yeah. We call it about lunchtime is midnight for musicians. What I tell everybody. So we're turning into night owls, that's for sure. So I understand you not want to come out that late, but Martin's was a good time, man. You did miss a good show. That's a good venue, and got to play a whole lot of good things for a lot of good people. So hopefully the same thing will happen when we come on down there.
Well, I've seen some ladies out on the dance floor on your Instagram story. So anytime you break out the women are doing the boot scooting boogie or whatever you want to call it out there, doing the line dancing, it's a successful night, I guess.
Yeah. It's a successful night for me or the bartenders won, whatever comes out better. Most of the time when they're drinking like that, they'll get out there and have a good time anyway, though.
If you can get the women moving their feet, you'll get the men to the bar anyway, won't you?
That's exactly right. That means if they're out there dancing and drinking, that means I'm doing my job.
That's right.
Where is Pig, Kentucky? What's that located close to? The closest, I guess.
We're right around Mammoth Cave National Park is where the community's at. It's about 20 minutes north of Bowling Green, Kentucky. Over here, like where the National Corvette Museum and all that's at. And then our farm actually butts right up against the national park. And I was born and raised here. Of course, we spent a whole lot of time. When I was younger, I used to play. I played minor league baseball and then college baseball and stuff. I was going all the time, lived all over the country, and was born here in Pig. And I just, for some reason, after I kept moving, but I kept on coming back. And I went ahead. My wife's from Delaware, and we just imported her. We imported her from Delaware down here too. So it's got I must have a magnet on me or something. I keep on coming back to it, but we're about an hour and a half north of Nashville and a little bit north of Bowling Green and right there by the park. So it's a great place to live, man.
First off, how do you find a woman from Delaware? I forget Delaware's even a state sometimes.
Yeah. She's like, there's only like 12 people from Delaware in the entire world, I think. It's just a small state.
Yeah.
What it is I mail ordered her. You know what I mean? I've seen one of the late night TV shows.
Got her one of those
800 number, and I just had her imported in here.
Got her one of them green cards come from Delaware into Kentucky.
Yeah. No, but seriously, we actually met. She moved to Nashville to be a songwriter. And we met there was a TV show for a little while on ABC. It was called Nashville.
Yeah.
And they cast me and her. They picked us out to be the happy couple. Like the walk in the background or whatever. And I reckon we're still playing the part on that because she moved on in here with me. And I talked her into moving out of Nashville and coming up to Pig with me. And we've been happily ever after ever since. She runs the show now. If everybody listening, she's the one that she books all the stuff for me. She the co-writer on a lot of my songs, does her own artist thing, and sells all my merch and the whole 9 yards. So I got a good deal whenever I ordered her in here. I got like a plus package or something. Yeah,
I'm glad to see it's paying itself off then.
Yeah, for sure. It's a good investment if you can get them. I mean, a lot of folks around here they talk about them East Coast folks, but I tell you what, it's a whole lot like home when you get up to Delaware where when we go up there to see family. There's actually a lot of my parents are poultry farmers, and I grew up on a poultry farm and a cattle farm, and there's actually a whole lot of that in Delaware. It's where a lot of that Delaware and Maryland. That's kind of where a lot of that stuff got started. So she's got some country girl roots in her. That's weird.
You'd be right at home down here, Rye. We're on a poultry / cattle farm right now, so that's pretty interesting.
Oh, are you?
Yeah,
okay.
Sure am. So a couple things you brought up here. One, the farming. So did you do any row cropping, or what all do you do there? Do you have registered herd, or what do you got?
Well, no, we raise beef cattle. So my dad has my mom and dad they've got 2 Purdue breeder houses.
Yeah.
And so that's what I grew up doing. I grew up in the chicken barns, and we always had cattle. And when I played minor league baseball, like I said, when I got out of baseball, I wasn't doing music full time. I just kind of started playing around, and I bought some cows. I actually bought my dad's cows because he was looking to get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I bought his cows, and we've been kind of cattle farming ever since. I bought 36 head, and then we bumped it up. We're right at 60-some now.
That's a full-time job itself.
That'll take. What's that?
I said that's a full-time job in and of itself.
Yeah, it is. We, I'm glad that we did it, and it's allowed us to kind of get our hands dirty because a lot of times with music, I'm the type of guy that when I start doing something, I get pretty consumed in it, and buying the cattle was something that, like, when we get in on the weekends, after the weekend runs, most of the time we're on the road Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and a lot of times, Sunday as well. And me and Dad, when whenever I'm on the road, he'll take care of the cattle. I like to make sure the feeding and everything's done, and then when we get in off the road, we'll do everything we got to do to make sure they're fed, enough kept, the place is cleaned up, the hay's cut, the whole 9 yards. I love it, man. With where we live, if I didn't love music so much, I don't think I'd ever leave Pig, Kentucky. We've been everywhere there is to be, and I like farming, man. I like agriculture, and I believe in it, and I think it's an important part of the community and what we do, and I want to be a part of that. And the way that I was raised, kind of the way that I want to raise, my kids and my family. So I think it's important to keep that, keep the farming at least a little bit going, and make sure we got some more cows and stuff. Keep the farm updated, so me and my wife have kids that have the same opportunities we had.
Well, that's a good thing to hear. It's getting harder and harder to be that small farmer. So it's anybody that can do it and find a way to do it. That's it's important. I think to keep that alive, especially in these rural communities. Because it's real easy to move on and do something else. And, so it's sometimes it's hard to stay that route. But if you can, good on you.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely, it's really important to keep agriculture in, the smaller farm style. And a lot of times, very few families are able to do like what my parents did and just farm full time. Mom and dad were able to raise me on the farm when that's all they did. And there's a lot of things that folks I feel like are missing out on by not having that kind of connection to the land and passing it down the whole 9 yards. Some of the values that people get from it, but just keeping it alive, and keeping a lot of these hometowns the way that they are. I don't want to see anything. I embrace change, but at the same time, I think it's a good thing to keep agriculture where it is because it builds communities. You know what I mean? And
it does, and
it's important to keeping that country fed, man. I mean, if it wasn't for the small farmers, a lot of this stuff wouldn't exist. So, and I know a lot of folks take a whole lot of pride in what they do, and they don't get enough thanks. I mean, the farmer is one of those people out there that doesn't get the type of recognition that they really need, honestly, and that's my opinion, but I feel pretty strongly about it. So.
Well, I agree with you. And not only that, the current political climate kind of demonized a lot of farmers. Everything gets lumped into one situation, and so everybody gets demonized, which is kind of the way everything goes nowadays. I don't want to get too political, but that's just my 2 cents on it. Also,
yeah, and without getting political on everything, I mean, people, and it's just in my opinion, and it's part of my responsibility as a songwriter to bring a little bit of light to those situations. And we've actually started writing some songs that kind of go more toward the farmer. But people have the right to know where their food comes from, but they get a lot of bad information, especially with kind of one of the curses with social media and everything. There's a lot of blessings and a lot of curses as well, as far as like all the information you get may not be true. And the thing about these small farmers, I mean, they got to spend all their time just making sure they can keep afloat and doing what they love and keep feeding the country. And they don't really have a united voice. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's kind of a responsibility of us to just make sure and not be a part of the misinformation. Just if anybody's ever got any questions about anything, just to let them know the truth about what farming really is, how important it is to our society and our community, and a big part it is to what made the country what it is. So without being, I mean, everybody tries to make everything political, but in my opinion, I think the farmers need a little bit of a voice, and hopefully as a songwriter and as an artist, I can bring that voice to them. Not only farmers, a lot of rural America. There's a lot of misconceptions about rural America and where we come from, and we're a big part of the economy and a big part of what makes everything great, and a real big part of country music. A lot of the heart and soul of country music and roots rock and stuff like that definitely comes from those rural backgrounds, and I'm proud to be a part of that.
Yeah.
So.
I'm just here to tell you, and when Brandy said you were a farmer, I knew you and Lucas would hit it off on that conversation here, but you're going to hit it off with our crowd on November 2nd, because, I mean, buddy, you're talking about we are in the middle of everything. You're talking about Lucas, like he mentioned, lives on a big farm that it's all his family's ever done. I live on a big farm about 15 minutes from here that we don't farm nothing like the Hickmans here, but we, quite a bit of farmland. And you're right, because I lived in a growing town called Cookeville, and all my friends said, "What in the hell are you doing moving from Cookeville back to Little North Springs where there's nothing?" I mean, there's not at least where Lucas lives here, there's a couple restaurants, a couple gas stations. The last business in the town I lived in went out about 15 years ago. There is nothing where I live, but it was just I packed up the family, and that farm's been in my family since 1883. So I wanted my kids to grow up on the same farm all the Kennedy men did. So we can relate, and the songs you're going to be singing to the people here. I mean, I think they're going to love you down here.
Yeah, well, I hope so. I hope they like what we got to say, and if nothing else, I guarantee they'll have a good time. So hopefully they'll like the songs, and it sounds like they're going to be my kind of people, though. We're really looking forward to it.
We don't like rap in our country down here, if you don't mind.
I don't. That I don't do that.
Yeah, I know.
Nothing against the folks that do. With that, like we said, I don't want to get political. Nothing against the folks that do, but it ain't me. I mean, they got their thing, and I got mine, and mine is what it is. So,
Rye, while we've got you, we would be remiss not to bring it up. Baseball. You're the first person we've talked to that knew anything about baseball. We talk a lot of sports on here. It winds up being football and basketball, but neither one of us know a damn thing about baseball. Talk to us about how you got into it, what all your career did. Tell us something, because we got listeners that keep asking us about it, and we don't know shit about it.
It's not that we don't know about it. We just don't care about it usually.
Well, I went to high school, Edmonton County High School up here, and had a pretty good career there, and wound up playing at WKU, which is a Division I school up here in Bowling Green. And we ended up winning conference championships and had like 14 or 15 guys get drafted when I played there.
Wow.
Had a real good career, and actually was just recently named to the All-Century team at WKU as one of the top players of the century. With a lot of my teammates made that team as well.
Yeah, congratulations.
And then, what's that?
I just said congratulations.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you much. That's something I'm pretty proud of. I don't like to brag too much, but that's something that I worked really hard at, and that was a real good team that we were able to put together there. And I'm just glad that I was recognized for that, because I know there was a lot of other pitchers out there that probably could have had the honor. So it was just that was a pretty humbling experience there. And had just got my jersey retired out of Edmonton County High School, which that's a pretty cool thing too. You always dream of that when you're a kid, getting your jersey retired and that kind of stuff. And then I was drafted. Long story short, I played 3 years at WKU. I had an injury, so I was there for 4 years. Played 3. Had good numbers. Was drafted by the Cleveland Indians, but wound up staying and decided to sign free agent with the Phillies organization and played with them for a little while. And then after I got released, I bounced around and lived all over the country and played some independent ball, which is minor league baseball that's not affiliated with a major league organization, and had a whole lot of fun and met a whole lot of folks playing the game, and was really blessed to be talented enough to play baseball for a living. And that's actually how I got my start playing music. I didn't play any music until I was with the Phillies organization, and I lived at the La Quinta Inn and Suites there in Clearwater, Florida, during our spring training and stuff like that. I bought a little mini guitar. Looks about like a ukulele in my hand, just one of them little like small ones, you know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And started strumming some chords and playing. And I guess I was probably 23. Started playing guitar a little bit, and I always liked to sing, And once I got released from that, I got a big boy job. I had a whole bunch of jobs and decided that just wasn't much for me. I didn't like working for other people, so bought some cows and started playing in a few different bars and barely making ends meet, and then just kind of started to snowball from there. So baseball kind of led into my music career, but baseball was definitely my first love. But if it wasn't for that, I never would have been where I'm at today, and I'm really grateful for it. So got to play for a long time, and got some pretty good success stories. And learned a lot about baseball. Is one of them games that you got to learn how to get knocked down. I played, especially playing a small school. I was playing baseball for the varsity team when I was like 7th grade. We just didn't have enough people, and there were like 2 years there we didn't win a single game. And I think the most important part that was probably I learned more from losing than I ever did winning and being real good at the game. And what I mean by that is I found out that I didn't like to lose and how much work it was going to take to get good at something. And I think that doing that and then growing up, as a farm kid and having to work. I don't know if y'all ever worked in a poultry house, pick clean out when you pull them slats and stuff out.
Mm-hmm.
It'll make a man out of you. So doing that and playing ball and getting knocked down and learning how to work and how to do something is something I carried over in my music career and hopefully a lot of folks that can relate to, and those are the type of people that I like to sing to. So long story short, baseball's kind of got me where I am today, and I'm really, really glad that I got to play as long as I did.
Looks like you played for the Gulf Coast Phillies, the Lakewood Blue Claws, and the Windy City Thunderbolts. Is that right?
Yeah. The Clearwater team is the Phillies. That's when I was down there. That's where I bought my guitar at when I was down in Clearwater. And then Lakewood's out in New Jersey. I lived out there for a little while, and I stuck out like a sore thumb in New Jersey. I mean, I got a little story for that one. I was living with a fella. His name, I won't say his name, but he was a pretty good fella. But his name was Luis. I can't remember his last name, but he was from Venezuela, and he didn't speak a lick of English. I mean, he couldn't, he couldn't say bologna if he had a mouthful of it. And I was hungry. We was living in a hotel up there, and I couldn't speak no Spanish, and he couldn't speak no English. And the only place that delivered food, we both got called up the same day. The only place that delivered food was a Chinese place. So here I am. I was trying to figure out what this fella wanted. I'm a redneck from Pig, Kentucky, and I was trying to figure out what kind of Chinese food this fella wanted in Spanish, talking to a Chinese woman in Lakewood, New Jersey, who she wouldn't have been able to understand anyway. I don't know what we ended up with, but we ate it and was just glad that we got it because we was both hungry. But it took me about an hour and 15 minutes to order chicken fried rice or whatever it was that they served us.
Luis Unda. Yeah. I'm stalking your on baseballreference.com right now. I'm following along with your story. Yeah.
That was a good time, man. Baseball was a big part of my life, and hopefully I'd love to get back into the game at some point. But right now it's just the music is really kind of taking off for me. And, when I say taking off, we're able to play somewhere every weekend and most weekdays if we wanted to, and people are singing our songs now. We're not just playing covers, which is what I did for a long time. And hopefully I'll be able to get back into the game after the music thing slows down, or after something happens where we're able to get back in and teach some kids how to throw a baseball.
Well, that's cool, man.
Well, don't get started too much because my oldest son's 13, and once they get you in, they never let you go. I'm volunteering for more positions in every sport than I want to. So be careful what you wish for there.
Yeah, I gave lessons for a while. At one point, I was working 2 jobs and giving lessons and playing music. And I decided that I just needed to.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
Just pick that music out and take care of these locales and see what happens. And it's worked out pretty good.
Hey, I don't even like to podcast. I've got so many other hobbies. I got a wife and 3 kids. I just come over here for an escape, man.
just talk to your buddies and make new friends, and then just record it and see what happens.
That's it. I say, honey, I got to do a podcast. You just done one last night. I said, shit, we're having to bail them out. We got people to reach here. This is my escape. This is But hey, you mentioned Western Kentucky. Now that's not far from us. We're about an hour and a half. Probably?
Well, yeah, probably from Bowling Green, the Bowling Green campus. We are. There's an extension campus up in Glasgow.
But now I tell you what, and I guarantee you've done it, and whether you want to talk about it or not. But I've spent some nights at Betty's back in the day in Bowling Green.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, down at Betty's. Yeah, we spent all kinds of time down there, and there was Hillikins and Bruco and Betty's. We hit the trifecta down there when we was there. Yeah.
Yeah, we're right here on the border of Tompkinsville, so I've got some friends in Tompkinsville, and they introduced me to Betty's, and we gave them patties in exchange. We got a little bar called Patty's right up the road here.
Okay, well I have to check Patty's out sometime. Yeah, I ain't been to Betty's in a long time. That was a heck of a place to be back in the day. It was that was one of the first places that I ever I actually sang live. They had a karaoke night. It was like a Wednesday or Thursday or something. A bunch of my teammates went down there and they talked me into singing some Garth Brooks on karaoke night, and I ended up winning like $50 or something like that.
I had a feeling you might have played there once or twice.
Yeah. I played there. That was before my music day. That's when that was my early beginning. Yeah, man, that was a lot of fun.
Well, talk about music. So, is it always been in you? Like, did you grow up loving music, and who's your influence and stuff like that?
Yeah, music's always been a big part of my life. I just never played. Growing up, my dad was a huge Willie and Waylon fan, and he loved like Bo Cephas. And of course, coming up, I was born in '88. I'm 30 years old, and coming up, radio. That's when radio was, in its prime, and had the '90s country was really, really happening then.
Right.
And my biggest influences would have to be all Dad's stuff, which is, which would be Hank Jr. and Waylon. I know dang near every Waylon Jennings song ever recorded. That's what I do. I still do that in my free time. Sit down and try to learn Waylon songs. But my first ever album was a John Fogerty. It was a CCR greatest hits album.
Yeah.
So I got a lot of that influence in me. I like a lot of the early rock stuff, the '90s country and the outlaw country stuff, and of course, Alan Jackson, Garth, George Strait, all that stuff on the radio, and really grew up doing that, just listening to it and consuming. And I didn't know, and this is something I've had conversations with some of my musician friends. Some people just listen to music different. Everybody likes music, but some people, it's just, to me, it's a part of me, and I didn't realize how important that it was to me until when I got out of playing ball. I realized that I had to have it. I was always the guy who always had his headphones on and was listening to music and was listening to country music, and a lot of the Skinner stuff and the CCRs and those guys as well. I got made fun of. I remember getting made fun of in the 4th grade because all my buddies were listening to the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC, and I was listening. I had my favorite. They asked me who my favorite singer was, and I told them Waylon Jennings, and they didn't even know who it was. And that's just from it's just something about that kind of music to me. It's got a heartbeat, and it feels more authentic. It feels more real than some of the stuff that's kind of coming up now. And leading into that, that's something that we want to pay tribute to in our music. That sound. That's not the. I hate using the word outlaw, but the classic country, the stuff that really started when they started being independent artists. And that's something we're going to pay tribute to in our next album. We actually recorded an EP. It's going to be coming out next year in April, and we recorded it live to tape, just the way they did it, back in the '70s, so that we could get that old school sound and not any of that, nothing fake. It's just what you get on the tape is what it sounds like, and that's something I was always drawn to growing up, and so yeah, it's always been in me, but I didn't know that I was going to be a musician, if that makes sense. I've always loved to be around that kind of music, and I've always had it in me and had to be a big part of my life. But here, just within the last 4 or 5 years, I realized that I couldn't live without it. So we really dove in and tried to get back to our roots a little bit, something that has been with me since I was young. So, yeah.
I just had a couple thoughts right there as you were speaking, telling that story. And first off, the first was like I had a step brothers moment. Like I think we just became best friends.
I seen that coming. Yeah.
You know, do karate in the garage.
Yeah, he does for sure.
Yes.
He wants to put the bunk beds together if we can.
There's so much more room for activities when we do that, man.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Well,
absolutely.
My oldest is named Waylon. I named my 13-year-old Waylon, so obviously my influence there. Hank Jr. to me is the greatest country music. I mean, I don't even think it's close. I think Hank Williams Jr., when you talk about his stage presence, his songwriting, his storytelling, just the charisma and just being a badass, I think Hank Jr. is the best. And then Fogerty, I mean, that was one of my first. I mean, I remember listening to my dad's vinyl when I was just a kid running around the house, that Greatest Hits album.
Yeah, and we pulled up the lineup on that CCR's Greatest Hits.
Ain't a bad damn
album.
song on it.
Have you ever seen The Rain, Fortunate Son? I Put a Spell on You, Proud Mary, Bad Moon Rising. Oh man, that's just a hitter right there.
You know what?
Yeah, and in my opinion, the two guys you just named are probably. Of course, everybody knows Waylon for being Waylon. Waylon is he's the guy that everybody knows he's cool. But when you talk about Hank Jr., like people that are in country music know that Hank Jr. is an icon, but they don't. He doesn't get the credit that he actually deserves. You know what I mean? Like because his daddy was Hank Williams and like the innovator, but Hank Williams Jr. was is probably one of the most underrated artists of all time. I mean, that guy done everything. He made a whole bunch of music and has some of the most iconic songs ever.
Yeah,
and I have heard
the same with Fogerty.
I have heard that exact same thing. I've heard that exact sentence come out of Dustin's mouth in the last 2 weeks. I've heard that the exact stuff you just said come out of Dustin's mouth.
I get so pissed off defending Hank Williams Jr.
He
when
does.
you shouldn't have to. Like I just always bitch and moan about how he doesn't get any credit and how all these other guys have museums and our listeners have heard it till they're blue in the face, so I won't go again. It's just ridiculous. I mean, the man had 9 albums on the chart in 1981 at one time. He fell off a damn mountain and come back stronger. He's just the man.
You know the thing about Hank Williams Sr., he only had like 2-year career. It ain't like he had this big old long stretch that his son did, you know. And everybody still compares him to Hank Williams Sr.
And I think part of that is the reason I don't know that he really wants all the credit. You know what I mean? I mean, once you've got it, kind of speaks for itself. He's got that attitude that he's done it, and he knows that he's great at what he does, and he doesn't necessarily need. When you're as good as he is, you don't necessarily need that recognition from anybody else. You know what I mean? That's left for everybody else to debate. He knows that he had a great career, and he's done a lot of good things for a lot of people, and had a lot of really positive influences for a lot of people. So I guess when you're in his position, it's like, I don't really need to prove anything else. So he's not going to go out there and fight for it, but we'll converse for him. That's for sure. And the same way with Fogerty, man. That guy has got every one of those songs. He might be the most underrated songwriter, and that I know. I mean, everybody has had pulled influence from that guy. I would put him right up there with, after Tom Petty passed away, he's another big influence for a lot of musicians. With the way that he put music together, and you just don't hear Fogerty's name as much as you need to, as far as like being an influence in the sound and like and rock and roll and blues music and putting the stories behind it. I mean, a lot of his songs are they're country songs. He made a country album, and he's underrated too, man. There's As Long as I Can See the Light, man, that's one of my favorite all time songs. And I don't cover that, and I'll cover all kinds of Hank Williams Jr. songs, but I don't cover a lot of Fogerty stuff because I can't make my voice sound like him.
Yeah, it's hard.
You know what I mean? Yeah, I can't mimic that, but I can listen to him all day, man.
What can we expect? Like, now I've downloaded your album. I'd be remiss if I didn't name the family. Now, your cousin Missy is friends with the Fraley family, Billy in particular, and that's the link that I have with you. That's how I got to knowing your music. Did I say that right? Your cousin?
Okay,
is that right?
Yeah, Missy is my first cousin.
Okay.
So, my mom and her mom are sisters. Aunt Paula, she's my aunt. Yeah. So we've always been real close. I come from a big family. So when you said when you started mentioning the family, I was like, oh man, I'm gonna have to focus in here. But yeah,
yeah.
so
That
my
was.
mom's got 9 brothers and sisters.
Holy crap!
Well, I was on the beach.
Yeah.
I was on the beach on vacation, and one of my best friends called, and you had played Sulphur Creek, which is not far up the road from us here. And he said, man, you got to get this cat named Rye Davis. He said, he's a badass. He said, not only was he doing his own music, but he was doing Hank and Waylon, and he'd done some Childers. He said, you got to get him. And I said, all right, well, give me his number while you're there. He goes, where he left? I said, well, you dropped the hell out of the ball on that one, didn't you? And I said, but I'll find him.
Yeah, well, I'm glad he enjoyed it. That was. I played down there a couple times. It actually ended up being pretty good. We got a pretty decent fan base down there. You know, we're working on it.
And I think some of those people are coming.
What's that?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to step on you. It's hard when we're having interviews over the phone not to step on you. I was just saying, I know some of the people that were regulars there are coming to this show.
Oh, well, good deal. Well, we'll make sure they have a good time.
What covers do you usually do of like Hank and Waylon? What do you usually knock out on a consistent basis? Or does it just change with your mood?
Most of them. No, I'll do. I always mix in. I do Country Boy Can't Survive just about every show. I'll do Family Tradition about every show. I'll do Mamas Don't Let You Babies about every show. Good Hearted Woman. I do Amanda, which is one of my favorite Waylon covers that he did. Him and Don Williams both did that one, but I do Amanda. Sometimes I'll mix in Always Been Crazy. Depending on if I'm with a band, I'll do that one. A lot of times acoustic, it don't get the same reaction, but I'll try it sometimes. Just about a little bit of everything on the Waylon stuff. So.
You know what Waylon song I love, and it's not like Waylon fans that really dive in would know it, but it's not the most common. But it's one of my favorites. Is a long time ago.
Okay, yeah. I haven't covered that one. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Well, it wouldn't be a popular cover, but I figured you knew it. It's off the I've Always Been Crazy album.
Yeah. I have heard it, but I have not covered that one. I also do. I woke up this morning. It was drizzling rain.
Yeah.
What does that sound?
Waymore's Blues.
Waymore's Blues.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah. That's a good one too. A lot of folks that don't know who Waylon is, they just kind of look at me like, "What is this guy singing about? A hobo moaning and wearing a name on a T-shirt?" And I don't know. I don't know what it's about, but I like the song, man. Let me alone.
Got to put on your coat and TIE, man.
Yeah. If you want to get to heaven, you got a DIE.
I don't know if Waylon knew what the hell he was talking about. He might have been a little jazzed up when he wrote that or performed it. You never know.
Well, that's all right. As long as it sounds good, it ain't got to be. Nobody gets to know what you're talking about.
I'm in the belief that Hank and Waylon could do the wheels on the bus go round and round and kill it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Well, Waylon did a whole bunch of stuff for Sesame Street at one point. And
That's true.
I forgot about
Big
that.
Bird make it sound good.
I seen a meme that said, "You may be cool, but you ain't Waylon Jennings singing a song with Big Bird cool," or something like that.
Yeah. No, that's cool right there. Absolutely.
And Hank covered when his career started going downhill in the late '80s, early '90s. You get some of those albums from the mid '90s, and you just have to laugh at some of the stuff he covered. Like, really, Hank, it's a sad deal when a 5-time Entertainer of the Year is singing. And I can't think right offhand, but there were some songs you're like, why are you singing this?
Yeah. Well, man, hey, Waylon did a lot of obscure covers too. But to be honest with you, I like a lot of the stuff that he did. He did I forgot what album it was on, but he did the cover of what is that called? It's like Where It Begins, I Can't Begin to Know It. Sweet Caroline. You remember that?
No, I don't.
He did a cover of that.
I forgot it if I didn't know it. Wow.
Yeah, he did a cover of Sweet Caroline, and I kind of like it better than the original. Of course, I'm biased. Anytime Waylon sings it, I'm gonna like it better. But that's he done all kinds of just obscure covers like that. But those guys are just music fans. You know what I mean? They're not. I read Waylon's book, and he was talking about how he. Whenever he first got started, Buddy Holly told him whenever they asked him what kind of artist he was, to never say country. He said, "Tell them you're pop. That way you can play whatever the hell you want to."
Yeah.
And they won't put you in a corner like that. And said, "Just play. That way you can play all the country music you want to, but if you want to cover a song that you really like, just go ahead and do it." And I was like, man, that really makes sense. Of course, he was trying not to be whatever that was. And he ended up being the most outlaw country man that ever walked the face of the planet. So that might have backfired on him, but he had a good taste in music, that's for sure.
I was watching that Ken Burns documentary that's been all over television, the last couple of weeks. Don't know if you heard.
Yeah, I haven't seen that yet.
I'm slowly getting into it. I've got all of them recorded, and I watched the one this morning with them, and he talked about how he was really making a career for himself out in Arizona at a little place called JD's. And then I forget who it was called him, told him to come to Nashville. He asked Willie. Willie said, "Son, don't go. They'll try to kill your career." And he went anyway, and he done 4 records for, I think, RCA, and and he didn't want to do it. It was not what he signed up for, and they tried to change his music. And of course, y'all know he went back to Texas. Got back with Willie later on and done their own thing. But it's real interesting. They spent a big piece of time talking about Waylon, and it's been a big piece of time talking about Hank Jr. It's real interesting. That guy did a really good job, in my opinion, of piecing stuff together, because the stories a lot of times, but it's fun to go back and get all the details like that.
Yeah. It'd be hard to turn down. The fellow that called him, according to his book, and this is from the words of Waylon, was a guy named Chet Atkins. I don't know if you ever heard of him or not.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah, so he got a call from Chet Atkins telling him to come out there. And
okay.
He was discovered by Bobby Bear.
Mm-hmm.
So it's when those two names are telling you to go to Nashville, that's before Willie Nelson was anybody. Looking back, maybe he should have listened to Willie, but
yeah.
I'm to be honest with you, I'm kind of glad he went so that he found out what he didn't want to do.
Yeah.
Finding out what he didn't want to do really paved the way for guys like us. Not necessarily the term outlaw. I feel like really gets thrown around too much. Like outlaw is not one of those things. I know I don't want to be an outlaw like a person that and I don't want to be an outlaw. You know what I mean? Like a person that gets a bad like rep and being like against the law and all this, but just doing your own thing. You know what I mean? Being independent, I think, would be a better word for it. He really paved the way for a lot of independent artists like us by going and finding out what he didn't want to do and getting screwed over and deciding that, you know what, I'm going to make music the way that I want to make it, and the people that like it, great, and the people that don't, God bless them, they can piss off.
Yeah.
And that's just how.
And
that's how I look at it too. So I'm glad that he went, and I'm glad all those guys that came before me went and found out what they didn't want to do, so that we can learn lessons from. I'm into that stuff, man. I'm into country music history, and I'm really looking forward to seeing that show.
It's really good.
I don't know how much reading you boys do, but Waylon's got a book. It's called Waylon, the autobiography. But he's the audio book I listen to sometimes when I'm driving. It's Waylon reading it.
Really?
So yeah, it's him. He reads his own book to you. So he's sitting there. It's like you driving down the highway and Waylon Jennings is telling you stories from the road, and it's pretty inspirational.
That's awesome.
For anybody that's in the music business or really into doing that. There's a lot of lessons you can learn from. It's like you sitting there in your ear telling you what to do and what not to do, and basically it's don't sign your life away and don't do cocaine. So
I've read that book actually. I had the paperback for years. And a coworker borrowed it and never brought it back, so I bought the hardcover at Ernest Tubb. But you got me really interested. I'd love to hear the audio version. And I've read his book, Hank Jr.'s, George Jones's, Travis Tritt's. I used to read back before I had kids and still had free time. But you talking about the term outlaw, Shooter, his son Shooter Jennings, done that song back in 2011, "The Outlaw You," where he was just basically, he said, my dad and Willie and those guys, they didn't like the term outlaw, just for everything you just said. They just want to do music their way, and they get branded outlaws. But then he said around 2011, all these guys are coming on country radio, and everybody's an outlaw. Outlaw this, outlaw me, outlaws like us. And he said, I don't know if you've ever heard that song, but he says they should outlaw you.
Yeah, I have heard that. That's a good song. And he makes a lot of really good points, and I'm sure, Shooter, he's seen it all firsthand. He's been right there was there from the beginning, and when all that went through that, and he probably still has to put up with a lot of that. So
I'm sure.
I'm glad that he voiced his opinion through that song for sure, because you don't need somebody that done with Willie and Waylon and all those guys that done so much for country music. You hate to see it be run down by guys who just want to be outlawed because they think that it can get them, on the radio or get them some shows or make them do that. And whenever it's forced like that, it's not authentic. You know what I mean? And I'm glad that I'm glad that Shooter made, come out with that song, because it needed to be said. A lot of us, we're out there making our own music, and everybody wants to put that outlaw logo on us, and we don't want it. I'm a good old boy singing with 90s country style stuff. I don't want to be called an outlaw. I want to be called an independent artist, somebody who is out there doing his own thing. So, it's good for him coming out with that, and that's actually a pretty clever hook. So the songwriter in me really likes that.
I tell you what else needs to be addressed. Your buddies back from grade school, we can't let them off the hook. Like, I'm not for school bullying, but they were listening to Backstreet Boys. How'd y'all know? How was that ever cool? Like, it was country music that?
I don't know, man. At one point, they had frosted hair too. They had the frosted tips in their hair.
I guarantee it.
You're a little younger than we are, and I was waiting for you to say that you'd punched one of them, but you never did. But
should have maybe.
None of our buddies would have ever admitted to listening to Backstreet Boys. NSYNC.
Yeah, this was the heyday of it.
Yeah,
man. It was the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC and the
98 degrees. 98 degrees.
Yeah.
I didn't listen, but damn it, I know who it was. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah, it's hard. Listen, man, growing up in that area, it's hard not to know who them boys was. Another one, that's what all the girls like, man.
Yeah.
Go with what the girls like.
Yeah.
They, them boys would do whatever, and I always tried to be the cool country kid or whatever, but it didn't work. It might have worked as far as the girls wise. They probably had it figured out a little better than what I did in grade school.
I'm here to tell you.
I was a chubby kid.
If it took getting Backstreet Boys to get a girl, I'd still be a virgin. I'd be a 35-year-old virgin right now.
Yeah. Well, that's probably true. I'm glad that country music's made its way back around. That's for sure. For sure. Hey, there was some good. There was some good '90s country coming out too, though, back then.
Yeah, there was some.
There was a lot of good stuff on the radio that way too. So they weren't strictly Backstreet Boys. There was a buddy of mine in particular. He was real into all that stuff. But whatever. Whatever floats your boat, man.
To each his,
call him out here. But
to each his own. But in the '90s, somebody should have smacked him. Nowadays, it ain't worth it. But
yeah.
If you don't want to call him out, you can text me the name and I'll say it.
We'll just say what it rhymes with. That way, everybody gets to know.
Well, that was back in the day of frosted hair tips and Jinko jeans.
Jinko jeans, yeah.
Yeah, what a time to be alive. Right?
Yeah.
What a time to be alive. We've come a long way since then, that's for sure.
We've been doing a lot of nostalgia shows here lately on here. We've done a 90s television bracket, 90s rap bracket, 90s this. I mean, everything that last show we done, or 2 shows ago, we were 90s trends that have come back that shouldn't, 90 trends that should. You don't know how many damn times Jinko jeans has been referenced on this show.
It's been a bunch here in the last few weeks.
I didn't wear them, but Lucas wore the hell out of them.
I had some. I ain't going to lie about it. I had a pair too. I maybe had one pair, but you couldn't wash them. They're too damn big. You couldn't wash them. You just had to keep wearing them until they just wore out.
Yeah. That's the Jinko.
Yeah.
I had what was the shoes that were real popular? They were all white Nikes. They were like flat on the bottom. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah.
Like wrapped across them.
Hey, I tell you what, I tell you what I'm ashamed I wore. You talking about all white shoes? Those damn corny ass K-Swiss.
I was about to say K-Swiss. I wore them K-Swiss.
Yeah, I had some of them too.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oof. Boy, I'm glad K-Swiss are gone.
Bad decision.
Yeah, now it's all boots. Thank God. Thank God. Hey, I wanted to jump back to something you'd said earlier, because it was something that we had a friend, Matt Mayberry, which I believe will also be at the November 2nd show. He was in studio and he said something along the lines of what you mentioned a while ago. You said some people just hear music differently. Well, And the comment that he made was sometimes when he just needs to really feel something, he'll listen to pop Keith Whitley in. He said, "No, it'll just start tugging on him where it needs to." I've never had that. I've never had that occur to me, but that's something that people write music. That's something that they have in them. What is that? How is it that y'all feel so much more in the music?
I don't know, man. It's like ever since I was a kid, I've always been the guy that when there's music on, like I can't focus on anything else.
Right.
It's a weird thing. Like I can't have music on in the background. I can't I can't have a conversation with somebody when there's music on. It's like I'm just always I'm always listening to it. I mean really listening.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't realize that until later in life. But I hear the song a little different than most, and I don't have like the greatest ear in the world compared to like other professional musicians. But I really focused. I've always really focused on the words and the influxes and like just the way people sing and like different tones and stuff in the music, and it just gives me. I'm one of those people that like if I hear a song that I like I love it.
Right.
I can really. I don't know. I get almost addicted to a song, and I mean, the first time I hear songs, they give me chills. Midnight in Montgomery,
Yeah.
The Ride. I mean, the first time I heard The Ride, like I probably listened to it, I don't know, 100 times.
Right.
Yeah, and then there's just a lot of songs that have done that to me. The Ballad of Curtis Lowe, like when I was a kid, that really stuck with me. Country Boy Can't Survive. I remember my dad telling me the first time I ever heard that, I was in a pickup truck with my dad, and he had me open the gate so he can bring a truck through. And I got in, and he turned it up because he really liked the song. And he said, "Brown, when this song's on," he said, you just turn the radio up and you listen to it." And that's the first time I realized that what music was. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not so me, and this is getting kind of it's a little deep, a little artistic, but I got a little bit of that in me. I'm not the best at like staying in touch with people and like connecting with people on like a personal level. Like when I see you, I'm friendly with everybody, but there's very few people that like I really get to know. You know what I mean? And I feel like other people are a lot better at that. But when it comes to music, that's how I've always made my connection. Like when I start singing, there's just something about it that people that they pay attention to it. And like when I write a song that people connect to, that's what's important to me because I mean it. Because the stories that we make up and that we talk about may not be true to us, but are true to somebody.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's what music is to me. I think music has always been my kind of connection, the way that I connect most with people, and just the way that I listen to it, the way that I kind of understand it. It's almost like a language that you learn. And I think you can learn it. Like if you really sit down and listen and appreciate it, and really listen to what the artist is trying to say, and really listen to how they put the music together. I think it's something you can learn, but I think it's also something that just some people are born with, some people really listen to. And I was blessed enough to have two parents that are they're just good listeners. My mom and dad both like listening. Neither one of them played anything, but they both liked listening to music, and I grew up when music was on, you listened to it, and that's something that I really think as this generation and my generation and the generation after, they started to lose a little bit. Now you can see it coming back, but nobody like really listens anymore. It's all just like stuff that makes you want to bob your head. There's not a lot of folks out there that really are mainstream that I feel that connection with. There's a lot of independent artists I really feel that connection with, that when they sing and they write, they mean it and they're trying to say something or whatever it is they're trying to make that connection with. But some people some people just listen different. I know that was a long-winded answer,
No,
but
I liked it.
It's just something that I've always. Music is just a big part of me, and it's a big part of a lot of people. So,
I think I think that's probably a lot of you singer songwriters. That it's something. It's not a simple answer. It's just it's just something that's in you. It's hard to explain, but it's just something that's there. So I like it. I like the long answer there. Who are you listening to nowadays? Like the new artists, who are you listening to?
well, I've been on a. I don't listen to a whole lot of new music. I listen to a lot of old stuff. When I find something I like I said, when something really connects with me, I get almost obsessive with it because I don't want to just know the lyrics. I want to know like how to get that guitar tone and like that what the tempo is and like the kick. I'm big on kick drums.
Mm-hmm.
My next album, I really want to focus on like making. I think a kick drum really brings in a listener, and I really kind of get obsessed with the way that things sound. But the new, he's not really new now. But Chris Stapleton,
Yeah.
I love his style. I love how raw his sound is, and how he's not really in any sort of genre. He's in all honesty, Chris Stapleton, in my opinion, is a blues singer and and a blues guitar player. And man, I love Chris Stapleton. I've gotten into Jinx quite a bit. I like Cody Jinx's stuff. And there's a lot of folks that I really listen to their songwriting stuff. There's a guy named Tennessee Jet that I've been listening a whole lot to.
He opens for Jinx a lot.
He's actually written some. What's that?
He opens for Jinx a lot. He does some writing with Jinx a lot.
Yeah, I actually opened for TJ down at one time in Bowling Green, another time down at a place called Eddie's Attic in Decatur, Georgia.
Yeah.
And I listened to his stuff on the way down there. I never heard any of his stuff. Just one. I'd heard one song of his before going down there, and we got the opportunity to go down there and open for him. I listened to all his music on the way down, and just his approach to songwriting is really good. There's another guy that writes for Jinx quite a bit. Named Josh Morningstar.
Yeah.
He's a guy that I've been listening to a whole lot because I just love how both of those guys are the type of people that we were talking about in the conversation, before.
Mm-hmm.
They feel the music, they just listen to it different. They got something to say, and they're trying to speak to you when they sing. It's not all about the hook, and that's just important, making people want to, having a catchy melody and having something that's repetitive so that people remember it in the whole 9 yards. And I've really studied that kind of stuff too. But I would definitely say TJ, Tennessee Jet, and Josh Morningstar stuff. Been listening to Cody some and Chris Stapleton for sure. And I really like. Now I'm really getting long-winded.
Go for it.
I didn't listen to a lot of new stuff. The more I'm thinking about it, the more I do. So Sturgill Simpson, I've not really gotten into the last two albums, which they're great for the art, the art-wise, and what it is and what he's trying to do.
Yeah.
But it's not my style, but I really appreciate what he's doing as far as like making sure that he's not cornering any genre, because the records that he makes are great. But the record that I could probably listen to every single day just for the tonality of it and how he approached the songwriting side of things is Meta Modern Sound, country music, Sturgill's album. So
yeah,
that and the Traveler album I always have on. I'm always listening to. I listen to some of Childers' stuff too. Man, I'm just naming everybody now.
Yeah,
but, I listen to some of his stuff. It's not. It's a lot more Appalachian.
Yeah,
than, it's more Eastern Kentucky style than what. And I love that kind of stuff. But when I open my mouth, that's not what comes out. But the songwriting that he's got, White House Road is a jam.
Yeah,
like from that first album that he released.
Yeah.
And I play that one, and Feathered Indians is a heck of a song, and I really love his songwriting, and I love how it sounds. I could never, I get a lot of influence from the Eastern Kentucky stuff just because there's been so much great music come out of there. But it's one of those sounds that you've almost got to be born into that culture to really be authentic with it,
Yeah.
And it's something that I could never mimic. I'm more of a rock and classic country type stuff, but if I could listen to that kind of music, what they do, and bring that songwriting into what I do, I think the world would be a better place for it, for sure.
Tyler Childers, live on the Red Barn Radio 1 and 2 is probably one of the best live performances I've ever heard. Shake the Frost and Charleston Girl and Rock, Salt, and Nails and Bottles and Bibles and Follow You to Virgie. Man, that's just some good songs on there.
That Nose to the Grindstone song is one that's a heck of a song.
Yeah.
Man, he's got something special. I actually, there's another guy out that way that makes great music too, and I'm glad to see him back on the horse. Chris Knight, he released an album a couple of days ago.
Yeah,
it's
really funny who you're mentioning. We've had Josh Morningstar on here and Chris Knight both been on here. We've talked to them. We're big fans of both of them, and Tyler Childers and Sturgill. We talk about them all the time, so that's really neat.
It actually, before Lucas asked you who you were listening to, I had Kentucky music written down here with all those guys' names because I knew they were too close to you not to listen to. And like Lucas said, Morningstar's been on here. Well, I was just texting with him about a month ago about working out something, a more updated interview because it's been a couple years since he was on the last time. And I tell you how much that guy loves music, man. I went and seen him do a residency at a place called Layla's on Broadway there in Nashville.
Yeah.
And he lives up in I don't know if it's up east. I mean, I can't really remember if it's
Maryland.
Yeah.
He was from Maryland. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought so,
Yeah.
and I was afraid to say it, but I was thinking it was Maryland. He was driving down there every Tuesday from Maryland to Nashville just to play that little residency at Layla's. And now one week we were there, and there wasn't hardly anybody. Me and a buddy of mine went and watched him, and he was great. And the next week, Josh Thompson and Jinx walked in. I saw it on Twitter. Somebody had posted about it. So it's really good because we got to see, hell, he was just playing to us, basically. That just shows you, I mean, if a man drives from Maryland to Nashville every Tuesday, I mean, that's some passion right there. And
yeah, it's his life, man. I met Josh, actually, it's the second or third show. It may have been like the third show that I had ever done in my life. He was part of and I was, just to be honest with you boys, when I was early in my career, I sucked. I mean, I was bad.
That's the way it starts.
Good.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I didn't know but a handful of songs, and I didn't really know anything about like how to do it. And I was just covering songs that people wanted, whatever they put money to hear. I'd go home and I'd learn that, play it. But I had a handful of original songs, and I went to play the Spillway Bar and Grill. It was kind of my home away from home for a long time. Still one of my favorite places to play. But Josh was there for a thing called the Last Honky Tonk Music Series, and it was him and a couple other fellas, and I can't remember who the other guys were. I mean, that's nothing against them. It's just that you can just tell, like what we were talking about earlier, like people that just listen to music differently and things. People that the music is really important to their lives, and that's the first time I met anybody else where I thought, man, this guy's out, like, it's so important to him that, like, he's out playing, like, going all over the country. And he had a wife, son, and he's everybody's self, and just on the road because it was important to him, and he'd been through some stuff.
Yeah.
It still kind of got back out and done it, and that kind of stuff to me is, we were talking earlier about, farming and the reason that people do it, and it's because a lot of times they can't explain it, you know what I mean? It's just important to them, and I've been blessed enough that I'm able to do the two things that are important to me, agriculture and music. And I didn't realize that you could go on a road and do that with music. And he wasn't making no money, and he wasn't. There might have been 6 people there, and he put on a show and he wrote those songs, and it was just, to me, is him and a guy named Dallas Moore are they probably two of the road dogs. They're out there. They're always on the road. They're always on tour. And to me, that is inspirational because they're not doing it to be famous, and they're not doing it for the wrong reasons. They're doing it because they feel like that's the best way for them to go sing their songs and say what needs saying, but to make a connection and to do what's important to them. And I don't know what the word I'm looking for, but it's just inspirational to see them out there doing that for what they believe in, and it's good to see success come to guys like that. You know, Dallas he's been doing it for a long time, and Josh was beating up the road, not seeing any sort of success, and now it's good to see him with the Cody success, some of the rights that he's putting together, and some of the songs that he's putting out. It's just good stuff, man. He's put out a whole bunch of music the past 5 or 6 years, and I wish him nothing but the best. He's a good guy, and I've got nothing good things to say about that fellow.
Well, I tell you, as we'll wrap up, we've kept you plenty long enough tonight. We hate to keep our guests too long, but what we pride ourselves on, and there's a musician named Jason Eady that's been on. We've done some business with. That he said when he loves coming on our podcast to plug his new music because don't feel like a basic standard radio interview. It's just a couple guys, bullshitting around, talking music and talking stuff they're passionate about. So that's what we try to keep our interviews. But this will be our third show we've done as a podcast series. Since the start of our year, we hit with a guy our age named Andrew Pope, who Shooter Jennings has been blasting out, and he's got a couple albums out. One he really plugs, and he was our first one, and he's down around Alabama. And then Jason Eady and Courtney Patton from Stephenville, Texas. That was our second show. And just as I was, talking to Brandy about booking you on this show on November 2nd, I've stumbled into another artist. So now I'm booking 2 concerts at once. I've got another Kentucky boy named Justin Wells coming down on December the 20th. So these boys and girls down here in Tennessee is going to get plenty of Kentucky flavor here in the next 2 months.
We like it.
Yeah, that's for sure. Have you ever met Justin? Justin Wells?
Known him we talked about you. I talked to him about 35 minutes the other day, and we talked about you. He said he knew you pretty good.
I met him. He was doing a show in Franklin. I've talked to him 2 or 3 times. I've met him once.
Yeah.
And we hit it off pretty good. He, of course, I listen to all his music, and we went and seen him. He did a show in Franklin one time, and I didn't realize I'm a big old boy.
Yeah.
I am 6 foot. I'm 6'5". I'm right at that 300-pound mark. I mean, I'm a big fella.
He's a little fella.
He was sitting down in his chair after he got done with his set, and he stood up, and that man just kept standing up.
Yeah, yeah.
He's a big old boy now. I don't know what kind of stage y'all got up there, but when me and him come, it better have a weight. We didn't know the weight limit on it.
He's funny as hell too. Like he's so down to earth. He's just a funny dude. I met him. He played a show that we talk about on here back in the summer of 2012. It was a Waylon Jennings birthday bash. No, this show was for free in Nashville in summer of 2012. It was Shooter, Jamie Johnson, and then it was Sturgill a year before High Top Mountain came out, Justin Wells, Whitey Morgan, and Leroy Virgil from Hellbound Glory. That was a free show that I got to see and didn't realize what I was seeing at the time. Fast forward, I seen him at a Cody Canada show. Justin was in the crowd. Then I see him at a Shooter Jennings show in Nashville, and he remembered me from the Cody show, and we talked on Twitter back and forth. He invites me over, and next thing I know, I'm at a table with Justin and Jesse Coulter and Shooter Jennings and Colonel Hensley and all these guys that I had no business being there, And
man,
and we've just kept up since then. And he's friends with Jason Eady and Courtney Patton. And when we had the concert with them, they played Newport, Kentucky the next night at the Southgate, or whatever it's called. Big venue there.
Southgate House Revival.
Yeah. And so I seen Justin at the accident a few months later. He said, "Hey man, I talked to Jason and Courtney the night after they left you. So they had a hell of a time. When are we gonna do one?" and I said, well, let's plan one. And so I told him the other day. I said, "Well, man, because we've been talking all year about it." And I said, "Well, I've got this dude named Rye Davis." He's like, "Oh, I know Rye. He's good. He's a good dude." So he was talking about you and. Love to have it together. I wished I'd have thought about it. And we could have planned this better together. Both of y'all together. So,
yeah. Well, we can always do it again.
Yeah. That's what I like.
Yeah, that song, "The Dogs" by Justin Wells, is one of the best songs I've ever heard personally. That's just a well written, well performed song. It's fantastic.
And y'all just played talking about shows I was wanting to see y'all play together. Before getting you down here, I mentioned the Martins one. I was trying to get my wife to drive up the other day, and she kind of called my bluff because with 2 little kids under 3, I got a 13, 3, and month-old. And I said, hey, there's a chicken festival up in London, Kentucky. I said, Rye's playing. I'd like to go meet him and his wife before the show. I said, plus Justin Wells and Chris Knight are playing. She said, well, let's go.
Yeah, that was a fun show, man. Yeah, we didn't get to. We actually had 2. We actually had 2 gigs that day. I got to play. I was up in London, and that's a pretty good crowd. And boy, it was hot, but it was a fun time. We had to head out a little bit early, so I didn't get to catch the show because I had a show that night in Corbin, Kentucky. Out there's a new place called Austin City Saloon, so we had a double shift that day. I'd love to sing that because I think Chris is going to be playing all that stuff from his new album. And I just had to listen. I'd love to hear it live, but didn't get to do that. But yeah, absolutely, should have come up, man. Maybe next year.
Well, that was 100% on me. I can't throw my wife under the bus. It was. I looked at the weather; it was about 96.
He played himself. Is what he's saying.
I did. I said I'd like to go up there, and she's kind of in that mood where she just had the baby, and she's kind of been.
She's ready to get out.
She's ready to do something. I was like, I don't know that I'm prepared to go with a woman and 3 kids on a 95-degree day,
96-degree heat, yeah.
2.5 hours from home. I just wasn't prepared to do it. I'm getting old as shit, and I'm getting ornery. So I'd love to have seen it, though. In Chris's new album, he's got a song with John Prine on there and another song with Leanne Womack. It's fantastic. It's well worth the 7-year wait not having Chris Knight new music out. So,
yeah, that's. I can't remember the Leanne one. She sang harmonies on that one, that Mexican Home with John Prine. It's pretty good. I listened to it last night waiting for the show. It's a good album. Anybody out there will check it out and check out Justin's new stuff too. It's all pretty good.
Yeah, I can't wait. Justin just finished his album in the spring. When I seen him at Exit Inn, he had just finished the album that day. So it's coming soon. But anyway, man, yeah, like I said, November 2nd here in Gainesboro, Tennessee. Matt Mayberry, Mike DeMeza, and Rye Davis. So anything you want to say to our listeners here to get them fired up one last time?
Yeah, come on. Y'all bring your mom and them and tell all your friends. And, I'll be singing you some tunes, and it'll be a good time, I guarantee.
Well, Rye, it was really good to meet you, bud. If nobody gets to listen to you sing, at least they got to listen to you talk, buddy. And you sound like you're from right here, so it was good to meet you, buddy. We really appreciate you coming on, giving us your time, and we look forward to seeing you November 2nd.
Yeah, I appreciate you boys having me, and we will see y'all soon.
All right, well, that got me even more excited for November 2nd. I get nervous when I'm selling tickets.
Yeah, it's no small feat, no small task that you got in front of you, but people appreciate it. It's fun.
Well, it's
getting listened to some good music coming down through the pipe.
Well, the thing is, I get nervous as I'm trying to plan these shows, but I believe in the show that we've got in front of you. And the thing that people keep saying is, and my goal, your goal for this whole time has always been give the people of this rural area something to do and give them entertainment.
Right.
And you're not driving to Nashville. And, like for the people who say we have to drive to Nashville, for something fun, this is a good concert, 15, 20 minutes from you.
It's right here.
Both circles, and it's a decent price. And
you're going to like it. You're going to like it.
I believe so. And I was talking to Mike last weekend, and he's fired up. Talked to Matt. Everybody's fired up. But, Rye, it's really good, and it gives everybody I'm sorry, I can't quit coughing, but everybody gets a little personality, a little look at Rye there. Here we are 2, 3, 8 weeks out, whatever we are. So,
All right, everybody, we're going to hop off of this one, and we're going to have just a real short podcast of our normal nonsense. So if you enjoyed this, go ahead and click on the next one, and we're going to do our normal thing. Thanks for listening.